Rolling. Alright, we're back. It's Father Vince and Father Scott with the Apostles, and today we want to wrap up the section on specific discernment, talking to you about step number 3 of specific discernment, which is we've done ask, we've made our list, we've done seek, we've been putting ourselves in the right environment. Now we want to talk about knock. When we come across a person or that community that we think could be the one, how do we take the proper steps? So what we're really doing in this step is we're answering 3 questions. The first question is, can this person or this community or this priest, presbyterate, can this person do the job? The second question we're answering is, will this person do the job? Do they want the same things I want? Are they committed to the same things I'm committed to? And the last question we need to ask ourselves is it a good team fit? Whether you want to call it chemistry or you want to call it, that we're a good balance, that there's complementarity, whatever you want to call it, is there a good team fit there? And the thing that we run across again, over and over again, like maybe the biggest obstacle when we're faced with in the knock stage is this difference that we have between the ideal or maybe a first impression that we get of a person or a community and the way things really are. Let me explain what I mean. For example, maybe you go on a community's website and if you're called a consecration, you think, wow, this looks so awesome, this is exactly what I want to do. And then you have a lived experience of that community, and you're like, that's totally different. Or you watch a great video like Fishers of Men and you think, oh, it'd be so awesome to be a priest. And then you go to seminary or to visit a group of priests and you're like, okay, these guys are doing something that's not the same as the video. So to be aware of that there's this difference between the ideal and the real, and the biggest danger is to get them confused in our heads and to think, okay, this is the ideal that they're called to, as opposed to the way that's really being lived out, or that first impression, the difference between the first impression and the way a person is deep down. You want to talk a little about marriage then?
Yeah, so first of all, we want to address people who are called to marriage and talk about what it means to knock. So when we have put ourselves in the right environment, we know what we want, we know what we're looking for, we know what we don't want, we know what we're not looking for, we can start to get to know people. So you want to, I think it's good to do this first of all in a group setting, because in a group setting there's less commitment. And that's important at the beginning because this process it's important because it's exciting, but it's also delicate because we're dealing with matters of the heart, we're dealing with our affections. So we want to take things slow. Start slow and build. So start getting to know different people at the same time. In a group setting, you get to know a person in a different way, and sometimes in a more important way than you do on a one-on-one basis. Then when you see something that you like, maybe get to know that person a little bit more, maybe have conversations with that person, and then slowly you can build up to the point where you're having time one-on-one with that person. So it's important to avoid entering an exclusive relationship with someone before you know that this person is someone that you really want to date, that this is someone that you really want to marry. Because dating is not just an activity that we do for fun, of course. Dating is preparation for marriage. We're already starting to build that intimate, exclusive friendship, bond, relationship with that person to be able to arrive at that point. And so I think we want to make sure that we're starting slow. Now, we want to make sure that person has all the things that we're looking for, but we also want to make sure, as Father Scott said, that it's a good team fit, it's a good fit. There's actually chemistry there, that because grace is founded upon nature, the sacrament of marriage is founded upon the human friendship that we form with our spouse, or with your spouse. It's important to make sure that is actually there, that I'm really attracted to that person, obviously not only physically, but in every respect, that we get along with the person. Because a person can have all the traits that I want. They can be a person of prayer, a profound thinker, they love theology, they really want to have a family, they love children, etc. But we just don't see eye to eye, we just don't get along, we don't have fun together. So there needs to be that chemistry, that basic fit, and then from there we can build. So make sure that all those elements are in place, and once those are in place, then you can slowly build in that one-on-one relationship. And of course, we want to make this a prayerful experience, so as we begin this process, we want to pray and also make small sacrifices for that person that eventually God will give us for the beautiful sacrament of marriage.
Yeah. And as far as consecration goes, it's parallel to what we talked about with the those who are called to marriage. Same principle applies, start slow and build. An optional way to start, of course I guess you could also do this in marriage now with Facebook and things like that, but an optional way to start is check out a website or look at a forum like maybe Catholic Answers forum, or talk to some family or friends about a particular community, see if they have, that you trust, somebody you trust, see if they have any feedback for you on, you know, maybe do you think this could be a good fit for me? Your spiritual director obviously would be a good person to talk to about this. Go to something that they're putting on for a larger public, a larger audience, whether it's a mass or some sort of prayer meeting, something that has nothing to do with vocations, just they're there, you're there, and you hang out together. It could maybe be a vocations fair, something like that, where it's a little bit more informal. That maybe even is a little too much for some people. It's just, but something that's informal, relaxed. You're just a face in the crowd, and you're there just kind of watching what the community does when it interacts publicly. If that goes well, and you're still drawn to them, then really look into, okay, making that phone call or setting up that appointment with a vocations director or someone else that you've met that you can get to know one-on-one and have a conversation and say, look, here's my journey, here's where I've been, here's where I'm at right now. I'm thinking about looking into your community, you know, what would I need to do to take the next steps? And they probably tell you something like, you know, spending some informal time with the community, whether it means spending a day with them or having a meal with them or a weekend or something that's not exaggeratedly long, but that gives you more of a sense of what is it like to really live in this community. Assuming that all goes well, then a lot of communities, of course, have a more specific vocational experience, whether they call it a come-and-see or they have another name for it, that you can actually go and discern with people who are in your same situation, discerning that specific community, and then from there, of course, you move on to actually, filling out the application and, having that real experience of lived community. Or in the seminary, it works the same way. You talk to the vocations director, and then maybe you go visit the seminary or a couple of the seminaries. Then you start filling out those applications, and so if it's either one of those for you, either form of consecration, priesthood, or diocesan priesthood, or religious community, the process is pretty much the same, and it very much parallels those for married people. So that's kind of our final phase here. Again, of course, like Father Vince said, we want to pray and sacrifice during this time that God continues to give us light and strength to follow out His vocation for us. That being said, our last video will kind of be, okay, you've heard all this information, some things we can do to put this into practice if we haven't already.
All right, 8 minutes.